Attention, Commander Nation, this is urgent. A bombshell just exploded from Philadelphia. Bleeding Green Nation just tore into Adam Peters, accusing him of using the Laramie Tunsil picks to buy old guys. And the truth is, that criticism, as uncomfortable as it is, hides a truth no one in Ashburn wants to hear. But that's not all, because Skip Bayless himself just dropped a statement about Jaden Daniels that, at first glance, seems like praise, but if we analyze it closely, it hides a brutal insult that calls into question the entire Commanders' plan. And to top it off, there's a rookie receiver who, according to analysts, could be the steal of the draft, but who faces a real problem no one is honestly discussing. Get ready, because this video is going to spark debate. If you trust Adam Peters' process and want to join the true Commander Nation, hit that like button and subscribe right now. All right, I need y'all to pay attention to this because it's uncomfortable and it's necessary. Bleeding Green Nation, which is basically the go-to outlet for Philadelphia Eagles fans, published an analysis of the Commanders' offseason, and in that analysis, they described the draft picks Washington used to acquire Laramie Tunsil as picks that ultimately ended up being used to, and I quote, acquire a bunch of old guys. Now, before anyone tells me this is just Philly being Philly, I need you to sit with this for a second, because part of that argument stings precisely because it has some truth to it. Let's recap. The Commanders gave up significant draft capital to land Laramie Tunsil, a left tackle who is already 31 years old. In the same offseason, they signed Chig Okonkwo, who is 26. Rashad White, who is 27. They brought back Marcus Mariota as a veteran backup for a third straight season. And Dante Fowler, our best pass rusher at 30 years old, they just let him walk away for free. So the question BGN is asking, even from Philadelphia with all their bias, is a legitimate question. Is Adam Peters building a team to win right now at the cost of the future? Or is he building something sustainable? Because if you look at this roster from the outside, there's a pattern of players in the second half of their careers who were brought in to solve immediate problems. And here's my actual take, the one some fans might not want to hear. Peters has done brilliant things. Drafting Jaden Daniels was perfect. The offensive line construction with Tunsil was bold. Antonio Williams in the third round looks like a steal. But if this team doesn't reach the Super Bowl in the next 2 years with the capital that has been invested, the conversation about whether the future was wasted is going to be very, very serious. Are they old, some of them? Yeah. Does Peters have a plan? Apparently. But does that plan justify the picks that walked out the door? Tell me below, because this doesn't have a simple answer, and I genuinely want to hear what y'all think. And now we move to something that at first looks like good news, but if you actually slow it down, it's going to bother you just as much as it bothered me. Skip Bayless, the same man who has spent literally decades of his career worshiping the Dallas Cowboys and dismissing or disrespecting any team that dares challenge them, just said publicly that Jaden Daniels is the most talented quarterback in the NFC East. His exact words, he's the most talented quarterback in the division. And look, that feels good. I'm not going to lie to y'all. When your biggest media enemy gives you credit, you're doing something right. But hold on, because in that same conversation, Bayless gave Washington only a 20% chance to win the Division 20, while giving Dallas 30% and Philadelphia 35%. You see what he's doing? He's saying Daniels is the best individual quarterback in the division, and at the same time saying the team around him isn't good enough to win it. And honestly, can anyone argue that's completely wrong? Because Louis Riddick from ESPN was more generous. He said Daniels is a franchise quarterback, that injuries were the only thing that slowed him down, that he hasn't lost a single thing that makes him one of the best in the NFL. I believe that. Adam Peters also spoke up and said Daniels has had an incredible offseason, that he's healthy, in shape, working with his coaches out in LA. All of that is positive. But here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody in the Commanders universe wants to say out loud. Jaden Daniels only played 7 games in 2025. 7. And the team went 5-12. Now comes year 3. There are new weapons. There's more experience. There's legitimate optimism. But Bayless's 20%, even coming from the most biased mouth in the history of sports media, reflects something real. For this team to win the division, absolutely everything has to go right. Daniels healthy, The offensive line holding up, the receivers producing from day one, the defense being competitive, everything. What do y'all actually think the Commanders' real odds are to win the NFC East in 2026? Drop your percentage in the comments right now. Mine is 40%, more than Bayless, because I trust Daniels, but I'm honest about what's still missing. Let's talk about the offensive piece that is quietly exciting me more than almost anything Peters did in this draft. Antonio Williams, wide receiver out of Clemson, selected in the 3rd round. Analysts are comparing him to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and that comparison is not an exaggeration. St. Brown came into the league as a mid-round pick without the explosive athleticism that turns heads and became one of the best receivers in the NFL because he wins with technique, separation, and consistency. Williams has that exact same profile. PFF gave his route running an 8 out of 10 and his change of direction flexibility a 9 out of 10, and what impresses me most is the tactical detail. It's not one move that beats cornerbacks, it's the sequencing. Williams uses tempo shifts through the stem of the route to manipulate the defensive back. Before the break, he drops his weight cleanly. He accelerates out of cuts in a way that creates separation before the ball is even out of the quarterback's hand. That's advanced route running. That's not something you fake. Against man coverage, he graded at 75.6 on PFF. Against zone, 74.1. That means he's not a scheme-specific receiver who disappears when defenses adjust. He wins both ways. His catch rate over expectation was 10.27%. He's not just catching balls thrown to him, he's outperforming what statistically should happen on those routes, which tells you the separation he creates is real and sustainable. Now, the critical point nobody wants to admit. All of this is genuinely exciting, and all of this is also college tape. The $10 million question is whether the separation he was creating against ACC cornerbacks is going to translate when he lines up against NFL corners in Week 1. And that question doesn't have an answer yet, but if you've got a receiver already showing tactical intelligence, who blocks in the run game, who's dangerous, deep with a 92.8 PFF grade on deep passes, and who ranked 13th in explosive plays nationally, that player has the raw material to be special. Daniels to Williams out of the slot, fam. That could be very, very real. Some days being a Commanders fan requires serious stomach. Watching Philly rip into your front office, hearing Bayless give you 20%, wondering if the picks that left for Tunsil were worth it. But then there are days where you look at Jaden Daniels, look at Antonio Williams, look at what Peters is actually building, and you think, this can genuinely work. I'm in that second group, eyes open, asking the hard questions but believing in this team. If you believe too, or if you think I'm fooling myself, tell me below. Raise hail. See you in the next one.